She put false accusations, forced to quit. People don't like you, I am out.
You know what they say, desperate times call for.
Starting your career in a 5-star hotel, trying to sell rooms that you couldn't afford yourself.
From fancy banquets and cold calls to impossible targets and company politics.
It was luxury on the outside, chaos on the inside, and we're digging into all of it.
If you've been there or you're there, this one's for you.
This is Desperate Times.
Hey guys, welcome back to Desperate Times podcast. I'm your host Varun.
And I'm Sakshi.
And this week, as promised from the last episode, which was all about my story and why I left my first job, but this week we're fulfilling our promise and giving you a part 2 to that series, which is going to be all about Sakshi's story.
But before that, we want you all to like, follow, share, subscribe, do everything on all the platforms if you can. That really helps us to come on this show week after week and entertain you all.
For sure, I mean, it keeps us motivating, guys. Content creation takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and we want to keep bringing you these episodes. So go ahead, do all the things that Sakshi said. Diving right into the episode, Sakshi, I think you've previously mentioned at some point in time that you took the more traditional route of going through the management trainee after your hospitality graduation. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that is correct. And for all our viewers who are non hospitality folks and have no idea what a management trainee is, it's basically a fast track program to becoming an assistant manager at a 5-star hotel, mostly a 5-star hotel, in 1.5 years.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool to be able to become assistant manager that quickly.
Only in
But
theory.
but yeah, in general, walk me through what a day in your life looked like. How did you begin your day? How much work went into it? How many hours? Just walk me through it.
I was a management trainee in the sales and marketing department. So it wasn't just those conventional departments like food and beverage or kitchen, front office. And my journey looked a little different because I was rotated through different departments. So I would say the day to day was different in each of those mini departments on the sales and marketing.
Okay.
So that was reservations, which is room reservations, and then there is catering sales. There's also corporate room sales. And then I think in the end, I was supposed to end up as an assistant manager in catering sales, which was supposed to be my longest training period, like in that particular department. But I
Gotcha.
didn't even last 3 months in that department or 4 months, something like that.
Okay. Why did that happen? Why did you not last in there?
Oh well, it's the age-old story where you have like politics around you. People don't like you, even though you're doing a
Okay.
great job. And it was where I was basically like forced to quit, like not
Oof.
told to quit, but then there was situations, the things that were told, just I couldn't take it anymore, and I had to be like, I am leaving. You can handle it all you want. I am out.
Okay, I want to dive into all of this piece by piece, but before we get into all of it, Sakshi, what city were you in? Could you just remind our listeners?
So I am born, brought up Mumbai, just to give some background before I answer your question, Varun. But this hotel was in Agra, Uttar Pradesh, India,
Okay.
where the Taj Mahal is. Basically, that's easier.
I mean, yeah, fancy as a city for sure, but what I was trying to get to is
Meh.
in terms of, so generally one has an understanding of what a hotel life in an urban city looks like, but I just want to get your point of view on how is that in a smaller city, even though it's extremely popular as a city. Is there any kind of difference that you observed working in a smaller city versus in a metropolitan city?
So my theory is that if it weren't for the Taj Mahal,
Mm-hmm.
Agra would not be as developed as it is. Now, I might get some hate and some comments from this, but this is just a personal opinion, guys. Like, this is what I think, that had it not been for the Taj Mahal or the Agra Fort or just the monuments around that city,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't have as much of a city name. All the businesses, everything came from tourism.
Yeah,
Like, the
fair.
city ran on tourism. So imagine if there's no Taj Mahal, what's
I,
left?
I mean, it still does. I feel like anyone traveling to India from outside of India has just pretty much a few checkpoints that they always want to get done in India, and the Taj Mahal is pretty much always in there.
Exactly. So there's huge tourism.
Oh yeah, there is definitely issues. When you mentioned that you might get some hate for saying that, talking about hate,
Yup.
we just got our first hate comment in our previous episode,
Literally
guys.
today.
So yeah, we just got our first hate comment, and that's just something I wanted to mention as we go. But going back to your story, Sakshi, I'm a little curious about what exactly about sales is it that you liked? And was it a department that you were assigned, or was it a department that you applied to?
So I applied to sales and marketing. I was only applying to sales and marketing. And then my second choice was food and beverage service. But
Mm-hmm.
when we did the industrial training, I sort of realized that it's more physically taxing on the body. And then um, I just didn't want to be in that situation. And then, even though I would be an assistant manager in a year and a half, I thought, okay,
Mm-hmm.
sales and marketing, I had an inclination towards marketing as is, and we'd spoken in the earlier podcast episodes. So I
That's right.
thought, you know what, let's just do sales and marketing. And that's how I got into that department. So I chose it, yes, but then the rotation internally is something that I wasn't aware of. That was once we were selected and everything. They're like, oh yeah, every hotel works differently. Even though management trainee programs are supposed to be like standard across the board,
Mm-hmm.
how you're trained and everything, this particular brand was not doing it that way. They left it up to the hotel um, to sort of figure out as per what they needed. So that's why I was
Okay.
rotated through all these departments, and some departments were nice, some weren't. Like I mentioned, I didn't last in some. And then yeah, there's always like politics, and going into your first job, you
Mm-hmm.
don't expect politics. Like there were people who obviously looked out for me, gave me advice and everything, but then those, one bad apple just spoils all the others. It was one of those
Mm-hmm.
stories.
That makes sense. And talking about politics, I feel like you mentioned this in like one of our earlier episodes as well, that you had situations where the management was not great. So what exactly is this kind of politics that you're referring to? Let's get our listeners a little more deep into it.
Where do I start? There are so many stories that come to mind. And there's just this one person. Like I said, there was one bad apple, right? So there's just
Mm-hmm.
one person that spoiled the entire experience for me. And had
Okay.
I been more resilient back then, maybe I could have stayed on for longer. But it was my first job. I was 21, moved from Mumbai to a different city where I knew
Mm.
nobody. So like that puts things into perspective, where you're just alone and fighting, not
Mm-hmm.
exactly fighting, but that support system is not there. And there's only so much you can do after a point, and you're like, you know what, this isn't
Mm-hmm.
worth it, so I'm just gonna leave. And that was the part of the politics. Where it gets interesting is that because we were supposed to become assistant managers in 1.5 year,
Mm-hmm.
some of the people that rose through the ranks, like basically started at the bottom, say at the entry level position, and then they've
Mm-hmm.
literally climbed up position after position.
Yeah.
um, that was one of the things I think personally that ticked off this person, that
Mm-hmm.
how does a girl get to come in straight after graduation and then become an assistant manager in 1.5 year, when I've been trying to do this for 10 years or 8 years,
Mm.
something like that.
Understood. And was this, is this, are there more specifics to like what this person did, said that really changed things? Were they going, what did they have the right people to go to kind of affect how your work was? I want to know a little more about that.
So this was my one of my managers directly. So when I was in the catering sales department, the department was structured in a way that there was a director who
Mm-hmm.
was from like a bigger city like Delhi. So him and I got along very well because both of us felt like fish out of water in a city
Mm-hmm.
like Agra. And he had his family in Delhi. So he would travel during the weekends or during holidays back and forth because he missed his family. I mean, fair enough. He stays close by, he
Mm-hmm.
can go. I can't just take a flight every weekend to Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
So
Not at all.
him and I, we got along very well. And then after the director came in, I think he was the assistant manager then. And
Okay.
what happened is this director ended up leaving 2 months into me getting into this department. And when that director left, they didn't hire a person straight away. There was a period of gap, and this assistant manager was then promoted to manager and sort of was acting as the head of that department.
Okay. And how long had this person been there before they became the manager, you said?
He had been there in that hotel for quite a bit. Like he started at the bottom. He's that guy. Yeah.
Okay. So he had been there for about 8 to 9 years at the assistant manager level, and you were getting there in
Not
like a
at the
year.
assistant manager level, but he had risen through the ranks basically. Like started at the entry level position, then the supervisor maybe, and then the assistant manager. So he had been there for like say 7 8 years. It could, I mean, I could be wrong with my numbers, but he was there longer than I was, is my point. Like it took him longer
Understood.
to get to that position. And then there was a supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and basically when she left is when I walked into this department, and all of her stuff was handed to me because she was a supervisor, and then I was supposed to be an assistant manager in like the remaining period of that training. So they
Mm-hmm.
thought that okay, this is a good replacement and fit. And then there was a executive, which was the entry level position.
And what role do you think gender had to play with this? Like, did you feel like there were other guys in sale who probably didn't have much of the same experience? Did you think gender generally played a big role in the situation?
So there were no other guys in that department except for the director and the manager. In terms of
Okay.
management trainees in the whole hotel, I think we were 7 or 8 of us, and only two girls. One was in front office, and then I was in sales and marketing. I was the only one in sales and marketing as a management trainee. Let me put that.
Mm-hmm.
But this girl in front office too, like she played a very long game, a very nasty game, which is part of politics again. Not directly related to me, but because we lived in the shared accommodation and stuff, people thought
Mm-hmm.
I knew things, and that's a whole different story. But she actually ended up leaving the hotel within 6 months and transferring to a different property. So that left only me as the female management trainee in the hotel from Mumbai.
Okay. And you're saying she left, so did she leave? You mentioned she got a transfer to another hotel, is that right?
Yeah, she
And
she forced a transfer. It's a whole different story.
but was it like, did it benefit her, or was it in general a bad situation for her as well as a management trainee there?
She painted a bad picture. She put
Okay.
false accusations on a duty manager. Uh, and that like went on for a couple of months, and then it was in the end she's like, oh, I'm happy to like take everything back, but I can't
Mm.
work in this property anymore. Can you transfer me into a different property, which was conveniently very close to her house in Delhi.
Oh.
And her father was a cop. I don't know if he still is, but she got him to the hotel in like his uniform and everything to flex a little bit, to intimidate people a
Ah.
little bit. So she played a very long game, and she's like, oh, I want to work, but like I can't work because of these circumstances. And it was so messy. It was so messy. And I didn't like her from the beginning because she'd done certain things to me, but because she was so nice to everyone else, um, people thought that I was the villain. And I was from Mumbai, right? And with the
Mm-hmm.
resting bitch face, if I'm walking around in my pantsuit and my skirt suits and everything, in my heels, I look badass. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. So people looked at me and they're like, who is she?
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't like me. And she like painted that picture, and when she was gone, people were like, oh my god, we should have listened to you and this and that. And I'm like,
Mm.
now what? It's done.
I guess in some ways we can say you suffered from success a little.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? When people get too successful, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that was too successful in my first job, but when
Yeah.
people do well, other people around you don't like it. I mean, they're envious, they're jealous, and I face that more often than not. It's sad to say, but I see
Mm.
it a lot.
Yeah, I know that's not a fun situation to be.
Mm-mm.
But talking about doing well, I'm actually a little curious as to how do you define doing well in hotel sales? Because I in the previous episode I gave my perspective on how sales for me was like and what sales really meant and all the target chasing
Yeah.
that was insane to go through. But
Mm-hmm.
my perception of, because I didn't work in the hotels for that long, my
Yeah.
perception of hotels is that clients typically are the ones who are walking up to you with enquiries, right? You're not going
Yeah.
searching for the
Yeah.
client. So
Yeah.
how does the whole target system go about in that case when people are walking up to you and you're not the one going as much as you would in general sales?
So you hold a lot of power in that situation. I mean, that's a given because people are coming to you, right? But
Mm-hmm.
talking about sales targets and how that was, um, in the reservations department, we had room sales. So that meant average daily revenue, which is a very revenue hotel revenue term. That was
Okay.
an important number, or like total room sales, which is the number of rooms sold. And then there's like metrics to that too. So I was learning all of that from the revenue director.
Mm-hmm.
She was basically room sales and revenue director, and she was the sweetest person. She worked really really hard, and
Oh.
initially like the whole department was nice, but there was some inner politics again over there where, after I was performing well, picking up things quickly, People didn't like it, but they were still behaving nicely, and then I didn't know, and then I got to know from other people. There's too much going on there. But
Okay.
in terms of targets, how it worked is that I didn't do a lot in the beginning, but then there were people going on leaves, there were people falling sick, and then the whole department was just falling through the cracks. So then I was put in a situation where I had to learn things very quickly, which wasn't expected of me, but I picked them up anyway. So I was doing a lot of group booking sales as well, which is like a whole different ball game. Like it's very different. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It takes a while for people to understand. But this one incident comes to my mind where it was a sold out date. Like there are dates that are marked in the calendar for sales, like in terms of rooms or banquets, like sold out dates or like big dates where the hotel expects to like bring in a lot of revenue. Either
Mm-hmm.
those are wedding dates, conferences, festivals. It depends.
Okay.
So I got a call one day, and we were at 98% occupancy or something, which is basically like everything is almost sold out. We only
Mm-hmm.
had the deluxe suite left and then the presidential suite left, I think.
Gotcha.
And from what I heard is that whenever we got a call and people asked for a room, we wouldn't even try to upsell if we were sold out. Like we wouldn't try and upsell to the deluxe suite or the presidential suite.
Why is that?
And they just didn't try. They're like, no, they're not gonna go for it. They didn't try. So which was
Okay.
bizarre to me. And I'm like, I mean, I got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
What's like, why not try? So we
Okay.
got a call one day, sold out and everything, and we put them on hold when they said, do you have a room available, blah blah blah. So we're like, okay, let us put you on hold and check. So we put
Mm-hmm.
on hold, and then like our department was very small. So there was a cabin for the director, and then all of us used to sit like on our desks outside her cabin, and then that was the whole room. So I just went like, there's a person who needs a room, and she's like, it's sold out. And I'm like, aren't the suites available? And then she was a little surprised. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, what about the suites?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah, they are available, but we won't go lower than this price. I'm like, okay. So I go on the phone. I'm like, actually, they're all sold out, but we could give you a suite for this much.
Okay.
And this guy's like, okay, I'll take it. And then I was like, okay, can I have your card details and everything? So we blocked the room for them, right? And then we send them a confirmation on email.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did that. I sent the email and everything. And then in my email signature too, like I used to write management trainee, but when I started doing more of these emails, the revenue director was like, remove the word
Change
trainee.
style.
Yeah, remove the word trainee. Like it does not
Fair.
look good on us. Because if I mess up, like it's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So sold that, kept the phone, and then I'm like, sold. And then she was surprised. I mean, she looked proud, but she wouldn't say it because she was one of those, tough people. But she really, when we did my what is it called, evaluation as well, like she had really great
Mm-hmm.
feedback. So I didn't know
Sweet.
anything until that day, but she was surprised and proud at the same time. And then I'm like, yeah, what do I have to lose here? It was
Absolutely.
sold out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other people around me, like that's when it started, that dislike and that envy and all, like she's doing better than
Uh,
us, but she's new. And that's the
oof.
thing, right? When you get these compliments or just like that admiration from these directors, which these employees have never gotten before,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the problem comes, because you're supposed to be a team player and you're trying to be a team player.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I mean, how do I explain this? It's those sales targets again, right? Like we didn't have them personally set, and there weren't like hard repercussions in the room
Mm-hmm.
sales department at least, but it still was a reflection of how you could perform.
And did you get
So
like incentives for like these big sales that you were making? Like I think you previously mentioned that there
mm-mm.
was also like you had sold out for the like biggest you sold the biggest summer event at that hotel at
Yeah,
one point
yeah.
in time, but there's no benefit that you get from like upselling them in any
Nothing,
capacity.
nothing. At least even if there was, I had no idea because I was just a management trainee. So as
That's
far as I
strange. I
know,
feel like most people know sales as the one thing that you can make big incentives on, but I guess there wasn't any here.
so I think in the corporate room sales there were some incentives,
Okay.
but I was barely in that department for like a month. That's where you have these corporate like people who travel between different countries, and they have these room stays booked with the hotel for a particular month, and then they get like that a lower price, but at
Mm-hmm.
least you know that you're getting these many room nights per year from this place. Like it's fixed revenue essentially, right? Like it's a contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Understood,
think
understood.
there was some incentive for that. But I mean, I did that social event, nothing, this room sale, nothing. Yeah, that was nothing.
What is it that really caused you to leave? Would you say it is the politics effectively that caused you to leave? And if so, then what was the tipping point in that whole situation for you?
I don't think there was like a single tipping point exactly. Like it was like a culmination of all these small events, some small, some big, that I kept,
Mm-hmm.
sweeping under the rug time after time. And then it just like boiled over, and I'm like, you know what? I'm out. So,
Mm.
and company politics in a way that it brings you down. People are talking about you constantly, no matter how well you're performing. And
Mm-hmm.
people making you look bad for no reason, like just because they are. And there were stories, rumors made about me, and
Like,
it's
what kind
just.
of rumors in what sense?
So rumors, so I was friends with a lot of guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always had a lot of guy friends. Like I don't really get along that well with girls. Haven't until very recently, since coming to Canada, I want to say, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
some here and there. So there were a lot of rumors because I used to hang out with these guys in the hotel or even outside when we used to go and meet and stuff. Like it's such a small city that everyone's in everyone's business over there. Like they want to
Mm.
know everything. So there were those rumors, and then my that other management trainee that was there, because we lived together. Like she would talk about things, and
Mm.
it was just I didn't like make friends until much later when I was leaving, and then I'm still in touch with a couple of those. There's just one girl that I'm still in touch with, but
Mm.
politics in the sense that it drove me insane. Like because I was a management trainee, there were times where I was told to fetch tea. So that was like, oh, can you get us tea and stuff? And I used to see people do it. Like I always saw the junior most person do it, and then if they weren't there, then I would have to do it. So I was like, okay, fine, but not something I saw first job. Didn't say anything, and the conditions of the lockers also weren't that great, to be honest.
So overall, the sense that I'm getting from you is that, and this is very simply put, things were not seeming very great, right? There was company politics that you faced every now and then. People couldn't see you going up the ranks very well. There was roommate drama, which everyone has at any point in time in their
Yeah,
life. And there was all of those pressures of like moving to a new city, feeling
mm,
unsettled. So, and I feel like a lot of us have faced a lot of these situations in maybe isolated ways, but all of those coming
yeah.
together, I don't believe they could do very well for your mental health. So, what would you say about that? Like, how is your mental health? Like, how did you keep yourself in check there?
Well, I didn't actually, because I don't think I did. I suppressed things maybe because a lot of these things that we're talking about now, I had to literally jog my memory because I'm like, wait, what happened? I don't remember all that well. And
Mm-hmm.
this one thing that comes to mind is after a point, I was going out every week drinking, which wasn't like me. Like, yes, I enjoy an occasional drink here and there, but then I was going drinking every week, which is not normal. And I realized
Not at
that
all.
most people working there in the hospitality industry, like that is what the pattern was, because most of us were living away from home, working these long hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other people were facing, but I noticed a pattern there where, yeah, that was just something that you did to get away from things. And when I went back home, I wasn't doing that as much. And I guess going back to your question about tipping point, so I went home
Mm-hmm.
for Diwali, which
Okay.
is a big festival, right? And my leave was already approved by the director who was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So he left before Diwali, but my leave was approved. But this manager's like, oh, you didn't inform me. He's gone, so you have to tell me too. And I'm like, yeah, but my leaves were approved. So he
Yeah, they can
created
just
a
check the
fuss.
system.
Yeah, he created a fuss about that too. And while I was in India, I mean, in India, I'm saying, in Mumbai,
Mm-hmm.
I had to extend that leave of mine because my brother was in the hospital, which was again like an emergency thing that he had to be taken to the hospital. And then my
Mm-hmm.
parents were like in and out of the hospital. I was in and out of the hospital. I'm literally at the hospital calling the airlines and be like, I need a reschedule. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm calling this guy and telling him everything. And he somehow thinks I'm lying. Like, he says okay, but the way he says it, like, he thinks I'm making it up. And I'm like, I swear to you, I am not making this up. Like in my head, I'm like, I couldn't care at
Damn.
that point
Mm-hmm.
that what he thinks is true or not. And I'm like, I am saying the truth. So I know what it is. I don't care what he is thinking, but I knew that had happened. And then going back, like things felt different. No one was speaking to me. I was being isolated, um, because that director was gone. So they didn't have to be nice to me anymore.
Ah.
Like he was at Shield basically, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
So
got you.
they didn't have to be nice to me anymore. They were isolating me, not giving me work, not giving me that opportunity to learn. And I
Mm.
did go to the HR at one point and be like, I don't know what's happening. Like, do they want me or not? And then I had to serve a 2 months notice period. So Diwali was say November. I came back to Agra and then I sent them an email like around Christmas maybe, that you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. But that was a 2 months notice. So I had to serve that 2 months. I was also a little homesick, I think, like because
Mm.
after I went back to Agra after Diwali, spending time with family, it just hits you more. Like
It
any
does.
place you go, right? Like when you go home and then you come back, it's just a little more difficult than it was before.
For sure.
So I guess that is the tipping point thing. Like I remember now clearly, like talking about repressed memories just jogging my memory, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of sad. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like had I stayed there, maybe the career trajectory would have been different, because that hotel changed brands and
Ah.
it's not the same old one anymore. So management, I mean, the people were the same, I guess. Some people were moved around, but and I
Mm-hmm.
was told this, that this transition is going to happen. Are you sure you want to leave? And I'm like, but the people are same. How's it going to be different?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you just spoke about how, in hindsight, if you would have stayed, maybe things would have been different. But for anyone who is in this situation at the moment, or anyone who has maybe faced it and is considering or possibly going to be going through the same thing again, what would you say to them in terms of how they should handle it, or how would you have handled it if you had to stick around in this situation? Because I guess we are fortunate that we can kind of take the
Yeah.
leap of leaving these
Yeah.
jobs when we feel like it, but
Yeah.
not everyone has that option, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
people have their
Definitely.
families depending on this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had to stay and had to make it work, what would you have done differently?
So, like I spoke about earlier, like being resilient, like I wasn't resilient enough back then. It was my first job, and like I had the liberty to leave, and my parents were like, yeah, it's fine, just come back home.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I left some friends behind over there that had to stick around just because they were supporting their families. And you have to grow a thick skin after a point when you work in an industry that is so closely like involved with people and
Mm-hmm.
are like servicing people. You have to grow a thick skin. And had I stuck around, I guess that is what I would have to do, like become a horse with blinders, like shut
Mm.
my ears off and just keep doing what I'm doing, because I know I was doing good work and there's no way they could question what I was doing exactly. It was, they just wanted to bring me down. So, and it's not easy growing a thick skin, but having that
Yeah.
support group also, like I had that towards the end. And I shed some tears when I left those people. But
Oh.
having that support group also helps. So there's a couple of things that you can do. Say, yeah, don't let them bother you as much, because their mission in life is to create problems for you. But when they see that what they're doing isn't working and
Mm-hmm.
they are essentially failing, that motivation for them goes away. People will say what they want to say even now. I mean, it's not just
Mm-hmm.
your first job; it's everyone and everywhere, right?
Right, for
Um,
sure. Like that's what even I was gonna get to. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be an experience that you only have in your first job. I feel
yeah.
like these kind of experiences you get to it, like are faced with in basically any situation or any job
Oh
situation
yeah.
that you're put in from time to time.
Definitely. And being a girl, like, I don't want to say this, but I felt a lot of that
No, you should. You
in
should
that
say.
city. I felt a lot of that in that city. I don't know if it was just a city thing, like a demographic. I felt like there was a lot of sexism in a way that they're like, oh, can she do it or not? She's a girl or she's so young. That's also another
Mm.
thing, right? Ageism. When you're looking for jobs, people question your capabilities and your skills based on your age, which I think is so messed up, because older or younger, mean, if you know things, you know things. Age is just a number in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of ageism, a lot of sexism, not racism yet because it was still in India.
Yeah, I
But
guess we get to racism part of it when we move on to our stories about moving to Canada. But I guess
yeah,
those are for later episodes that we get to.
definitely.
Okay, so as we wrap this up, and I know that there's still a lot more that you could have unpacked in this whole episode,
Gosh.
but any concluding notes that you have for our listeners and viewers out there?
I feel like a lot of girls, a lot of females are gonna relate to this episode a lot, just because hospitality is such a male-dominated industry. At least
Mm-hmm.
it used to be 7, 8 years ago. So if y'all feel like y'all are alone in this, or you feel y'all want to talk about it, feel free to DM us, comment down below, and we're always here to support y'all.
Absolutely, guys. We're more than happy to engage with y'all on whatever platform it is that you guys prefer, whatever platform it is that y'all are listening to. And on that note, I'm going to put in the shameless plug for the second time, guys. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow us on all the possible platforms that you can. And that was it for this week, guys. We will see y'all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.